Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. JC here with another video on Action Taimanin. Today, we're gonna check how to play with Azusa. But before we start, don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe if you enjoy the content. So, Azusa is a suppressed human type character. She just released, and honestly, I wasn't expecting to do this so quickly, but she's honestly pretty simple of a character. She's not that complex, so let's check quickly what she offers. First of all, she has a leader skill, and her leader skill is kind of controversial due to how simple it is. Mind's Eye increases critical rate by 20%. So, this is good and bad at the same time. Bad because you are not going to take advantage of this on VR, which is right now the most challenging content we have. And if the developers keep adding more challenging content other than VR that penalizes crit, this is not going to be a very good leader skill to have. So let's hope that they add some other forms of challenging content that does not penalize critical as much, so that we can take advantage of this. Also, this doesn't give you a buff, it's only increasing your stats passively, unlike Tokiko, so you can't even take advantage of the buff. So yeah, it is there. It is strong, yeah. The advantage is that you're always going to have enhanced critical rate. You use the Momochi weapon super easily with this. So it has its pros and cons. Now, let's check those skills. First we have Omnio. I'm just gonna read the one below. Dragonfly Dance. Dragonfly Dance is going to be the pure red skill. Melee attack, hold the bait, 11-second cooldown. Rush up to the enemy with the blade, shed, and deals a charge attack by drawing and slashing the sword once on the enemy in front. Yeah. So, with 1 red increases damage by 10% for 10 seconds, 2 red adds 2 additional attacks, and 3 red increases skill damage by 150% and gains super armor while attacking. This one is actually pretty good. All of her pure color skills are really strong and they deal a good amount of damage. So yeah, it is fine, pretty simple, though the only disadvantage about probably all of her skills is that she's kind of slow. Like, not super slow, but yeah, it takes some time to charge. Now, Gale Slash. Gale Slash. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Well, Gale Slash is gonna be a melee attack, hold attack, 10-second cooldown, float in the air, and perform a charge attack toward enemy in front. Yeah, this one is strong damage-wise, but it feels a little bit slow yet again. So, 2 green adds 1 additional attack. 2 blue reduces the enemy speed by 20% for 10 seconds. 2 red increases damage by 20% for 10 seconds. Blue and red are pretty strong. Green is kind of okay-ish. Like, it's not impressive, but it's not bad to have more damage. Though the damage increase on red is way more appealing. Then we have Sword Attack Shindara. Shindara is going to be a melee attack during normal attack, hold attack, 12-second cooldown, summon Shikigami nearby and perform an area attack that stabs surrounding enemies. 1 blue stuns the enemy. 2 blue adds an additional attack. 1 additional attacks. Well, I guess because it's multiple attacks at the same time. That's the meaning of this, I guess. And 3 blue increase critical damage by 250% and gain super armor while active. I love that they have this trend of adding the super armor on the pure color skill. It's really clever. And yeah, critical on blue. On melee. That's rough, guys. We can increase our damage on blue for sure. There's options for that. but there's not that many options for melee critical damage increase on blue. There's of course arrows, bright arrows, but other than that, it's a little bit rough. But doesn't matter, we can increase damage in other ways. Then, Shikigami Bodyguard. Bodyguard is a pretty good skill, but in most situations you're not gonna use it. It's not that it's bad, it's just that you prefer to deal damage, honestly. So, immediately before enemy attack, evade. 10-second cooldowns. After an extreme dodge, summon Shikigami that remains for 6 seconds that grants super armor. When slot effect is applied, Shikigami lasts 2 seconds longer. So it's gonna be 8 seconds if you use a pure color build. So 3 green increases the defense by 20% for 10 seconds. 3 blue reduces the skill cooldown by 2 seconds. 3 red increase damage by 20% for 10 seconds. While the cooldown reduction is nice, the buff only gives you super armor. If it gave you something else, blue would be actually pretty useful. But honestly, it pales in comparison to green and red. Green, oddly enough, it enables something. We're gonna see that later, but it enables things. I'll just say that. And red, of course, is pretty busted. The only thing that I do not like is that the duration and percentage is exactly the same, which means that these buffs overlap, and you cannot have both of them at the same time. But, well, whatever. So the next one, Shadow Sprint. Shadow Sprint is a melee attack, dash attack, 7-second cooldown, charges up to the front, and performs an area attack by slashing wildly. Main green increases defense by 10% for 5 seconds. Main blue reduces the enemy's speed by 10% for 5 seconds. Main red increases damage by 10% for 5 seconds. So, short cooldown, short buff duration, all of them are pretty good. And even the debuff of blue, all of this is pretty nice. Even the animation is great because the AoE is wide, as it says. Honestly, this is pretty basic, but yet effective. I like this skill. Then we have the pure green skill, which is going to be Shikigami Vikala. Vikala is going to be a melee attack, hold the bait, 13-second cooldown. Throw a paper Shikigami in front, summoning a clone to attack the enemy. So this is going to attack multiple times, actually. And it is pretty silly, because the range is very large, and it tracks the enemy, so it's not that bad, though it locks you in place. So increases defense by 10% for 10 seconds, which is an odd effect to have on a damaging skill, though it synergizes with other things. I don't know what to think about this particular effect. Honestly, I would have preferred to debuff the enemy with defense reduction rather than this. Or have damage increase or critical rate increase or critical damage increase. I don't know. Whatever would be better than defense on a damaging skill. Then we have 2 green adds 2 additional attacks. 3 green increase critical rate by 50% against super armor while attacking. So, it has a very good natural damage increase. So that's one thing. Not damage increase, natural damage, because this one is the one that increases critical rate. So even if you do not crit, it's supposed to deal a good amount of damage. So yeah, it's a fine skill. It is okay. All of her pure skills, as you can see, are damaging skills. You do not heal with them, but that doesn't really matter. So then we have Shikigami. Shikigami is the basic enhancer, melee attack, while doing normal attacks, enhance normal attacks using both swordsmanship and Shikigami. Increases speed by 5% on normal attacks, increases speed by increases speed of normal attacks by an additional 10%, and increase particle charge amount by 50%. Honestly, I didn't like this one. The normal basic attacks are pretty fast, and when you use Shikigami, it feels like it's actually slower because of the way the animation works. And the amount of hits it does is nice. You can use it to accelerate your particle charge, but honestly, I do not recommend using this in particular. If you want to use basics, the normal basics are pretty good, in my opinion. The only disadvantage is the lack of particle charge increase, but well, it depends on what you like the most. Then, Setsugi Makora. Makora. Okay, so Makora, it is a pretty unfortunate skill. So, melee attack, immediately after attack, evade. 3-second cooldowns. Summon 2 Shikigami then above the 2 furthest enemies, attacking them with blade that warps through the Shikigami. So, this is the triple color skill. On green, reduce the skill cooldown by 20%, which is absolutely useless. Why is this useless? Because of the duration. The cooldown is already pretty low because it's immediately after attack, so you have to use another attack to use this. So cooldown reduction doesn't provide anything to this skill, and it makes this pretty useless. 1 blue reduces the enemy speed by 10% for 5 seconds, which is also unfortunate because it's the same percentage and duration as this one. So yeah, basically if you want to debuff the enemy, Shadow Sprint is way better. And then we have the damage increase, which is it's just fine, but honestly it doesn't feel right, this skill. The character just released and this needs a rework because it's not offering good enough value. I don't know, guys. Like, everything on the kit has been fine until we get to Makora. Then, Shikigami Mirror Image. Melee attack, immediately after enemy attack, evade. 6-second cooldown. Teleport behind the enemy immediately after being attacked and perform a melee attack. Heals 10% of max HP after the attack. With 2 green, you're going to get increased HP restoration by 10%. 2 blue makes the enemy groggy. 2 red knocks back the enemy. So this is a PvP skill for the most part. On PvE, it can be used on green, and actually pretty effectively because of the combos that you can make. But it is not the best thing to activate as a counter. Especially a healing skill as a counter that only heals 10%. Let's say that at max it heals 20. Let's say it's not 11, it's 20% healing on green. Even so, it's not amazing because you have to take a hit. But there's combos you can do to take advantage of this, and I'm gonna show you a build specifically for that. Lastly, we have Shikigami Double Team. Immediately before enemy attack, evade. 14-second cooldowns. After an extreme dodge, summon a clone that remains for 10 seconds that automatically attacks the enemy. 2 green, increase the clone's duration by 50%, which honestly is not necessary because remember, this is the base cooldown, but we will also have the cooldown reduction from the skill training. So honestly, the skill, there's no benefit for increasing the skill duration for the most part. Well, the Shikigami duration. Then, 2 blue, when summoning a clone, heals 5% of max HP. Which, yes, it is actually appreciated, but the Gremory has been trying to balance healing because they know that the best way to heal is by dealing damage, like using Madosen or something like that. The healing that comes from the damage that we do, if we do a ton of damage, then it's going to be busted and we're going to heal a lot. So they have been trying to avoid that, and that's why we received this, and it's kind of a little bit too balanced, maybe. Then, the last one. 2 red, increase the clone's damage by 20%. Unfortunately, there's an issue with this. You see that we don't have melee attack on this? That's because this counts as, um, what's the name? As a summon. So, unfortunately, you do not want to use uh, supporters that enhance summon like Fairy Sakura or what's the name of the other one? The red one. Armor Shisui. You don't want to use those two. Why? Because only this counts as a summon. All your other attacks are not going to count as summon. So you want supporters that increase damage, all forms of damage. So yeah, a little bit unfortunate. I like the skill for the most part. I use it on some builds, but honestly, it is not necessary. It is just a nice way to recover HP and a nice way to deal constant damage because that's what it enables you to have two sources of damage, and it's pretty good at that. So, well, anyways, let's do some runs. Starting with. Wait a moment. Yeah, it is working, my controller. So, we're gonna start with VR because I already have a build for this one. We're gonna use a human team. So let's start with the star of the show, Azusa. Azusa is gonna be the damage dealer. As a damage dealer, she performs pretty well. I'm gonna use not Mackerel 4 out of 5 plus 14 and Momochi Weapon 5 out of 5 plus 13 with Anti-Machine Thunder Megatames and whatever Megatames on the subslot. We're going red, so we're going to use Dragonfly, Dance. We're also going to use Sprint, and we're going to use Bodyguard. The combo is to use Sprint, Bodyguard, and then Dragonfly. That's going to put you in front of the enemy while giving you a buff. Then you get another buff, and then you deal a devastating attack. Honestly, it is pretty strong, but well, I'll wait to tell you more about Asa. Right now, since we're gonna have a whole team that can perform different roles, we're gonna be debuffing the enemy with someone else. I can debuff the enemy technically with the critical rate increase and the Mochi weapon, but I'm not relying on that specifically. So I'm using Susune because of my teammates. And not only do I use Susune because of the teammates, but also because I want to heal myself, the active heals. And I want to enhance that healing as much as possible. That's why I'm using Kung Fu Mai. Kung Fu Mai gives me damage and increases my healing, which is really important. And because we have a stage with mobs, I'm using Fuyutsuki. You know that Fuyutsuki is going to increase my damage tremendously. So yeah, that's the reason I'm using these specific supporters. I could go with something different like substituting Mai for Yokina, but I like it this way. Now, stats of the costumes. I don't have yet any stat training, so let's go with the other ones. Tokiko is going to be a supporter, obviously. She's going to be dealing damage, yes. She's going to be reducing the defense of the enemy with the weapon. She's also going to be using Blast to reduce the defense of the enemy and Clairvoyance to further reduce the defense of the enemy. And the basic enhancer just so that we become range. Then we have the Founding 3. The Founding 3 is here to make the character tanky. But there's other options if you don't have the Founding 3. For example, you can use Hisui. That's actually pretty good. And that's about it, guys. Like, there's not that much options for tanking on on green, sorry. If you're fighting against demons, you can use White Knight Asagi, that's true. You can also use Lina on the main against demons. But other than that, you would have to go with damage increase, whatever form of damage increase that you can, if you don't want to use this one or Hisui. Then we have Yachio because healing for the team, honestly. It is just filler. I don't need it, but you can use it. In case you want something else, use whatever. Torajiro is fine. You can use Baretta. You can use Mitsuki. Honestly, this has been a good year for F2P supporters. Then Misaki. Of course, Misaki because of the healing on the main and the huge damage increase. If you don't have Misaki, and depending on the enemy, you might use Lamarck. It's not a bad idea to use Lamarck, especially because it enhances humans. So, stats of the customs, and stat training. And lastly, we have Natsu. Natsu is very particular here because she is holding supporters for the whole team, not for herself. So, we're gonna use the Momochi weapon with defensive Magatamas. The thing is that I use offensive supporters, some offensive supporters, and I don't want her to die. I could go full offensive, but I am going to use damage reduction with the Magatamas. The Momochi weapon, there's a reason why we use that, but it's only 2 out of 5 plus 11, and this one 5 out of 5 plus 13, whatever defensive on the sub slot. And now, Smoke Fang for healing, Smoke Cloud for getting fortitude and nullifying some instances of damage, and Power Release to get a speed increase and super armor. That super armor is important. So of course we use the Momochi Bride and a Rose combo so that we reduce the defense of the enemy, or well, increase our damage, because that's effectively what it is. Then we use Azusa. Azusa increases the speed of this character, which is already pretty fast, and is going to be able to abuse the Momochi weapon, and it gives penetration for the whole party, because the whole party is human. And we also have the new Mizuki Shiranui. As you can see, she's only S level 2, but that doesn't really matter. It helps the stats of Natsu, for sure, but what's really helping out is the extra passive, which you just have to level her up to get. So, 16% more damage for all human allies. That's really, really good. Trust me, you want to get this if you're planning to do make human teams. So, stats of the customs, stats of the stat training, and let's go. So you're gonna see that Azusa is going to deal a ton of damage, and I mean a ton of damage. And this is excellent. I do this and this, and then I just use my damage. Like this and this, and then look, I already defeated one. Only two combos. 1, 2. Oh, I didn't even have to do the third one. So yeah, Azusa is strong. Really, really strong. What's the issue with Azusa? Though her damage is fine, and on red she works pretty well on BR as a damage dealer, she's just one of those characters who doesn't offer much other than damage. I mean, she has another role. That's something important that we're gonna check. But her leader skill put her as a disadvantage, and you're gonna understand that when I do the stats video. But well, let's go to tower. It's time to check her individually. So, first of all, no, this is the farming one. Let's go red. It is exactly the same build. We're using exactly the same, but this time we're going crit with water, and we're using Gale Slash. It is not wise to use Gale Slash because the buffs overlap, just so that you know. So you're gonna erase one for the other one, but I want to show you the damage capability of this skill. It is good on the damage department, but if you want to deal more damage with Dragonfly, you should be substituting Gale Slash for Shadow Sprint. Just keep that in mind. So, sorry, I'm still a little bit sick, but it is just the cough, honestly. I don't have an infection anymore, so that's good. So we do this, and look how I delete everything. It is super important to do those basics, but the basics really need a speed increase. It's a shame that the basic enhancer makes the animation kind of longer, so in the end, even with the speed increase, it feels kind of slow. But it is what it is. So we just do this, and we destroy the... Well, it is not that strong. It is not that strong. It is strong, but it's not the kind of skill that you can use to deal with waves of enemies. Nice. Yeah, as you can see, it did like 100,000. So there we go. A little bit more than that, actually, but pretty good, pretty good. So I just... Come on, evade. Perfect. And we position ourselves on the right spot so that we can take advantage of everything and destroy the mobs and the sub-bosses. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. No. We are not. I didn't crit. That's bad. Yeah, I can heal. Look at how much I heal. That's why I do this combo. Yeah, the... what's the name? The... Kung Fu Mai with Susune is pretty strong as a healing option. You don't have to worry too much about the fact that you don't have healing. Now, let's go with another one. Let's go with blue. So, you have the option of using double team so that you have healing. But we don't need to worry about healing on blue anymore. Ever since we received the marvelous Massacre Kurenai, that's not something to worry about. So, since we have this, we're going to be using Gale Slash to reduce the speed of the enemy. We're going to use Shadow Spirit to further reduce the speed of the enemy. And we're going to use Shindara to deal damage. Honestly, only Shindara is important. The speed control that you receive doesn't feel as impactful due to the slow animations that Azusa has. So, well, even so, it's gonna be fine. We have the damage. So we use Azusa for penetration, but if you don't have Azusa, use whatever you have. Like, the big three are excellent, as always, as usual. You can also use Maika, especially if you have that Momochi weapon. Yeah, it's with debuff. So yeah, if you have the Momochi weapon, you can use... Who else? You can use Asagi, and you can get extra benefit if you put Asagi on the main. You can use... what else? Akina in case you need the healing, but you shouldn't. Arabella for bosses. White, of course. You can use Natsu. Not on this one. Not on this specific build. You can use Kowaru. So there's options. Here, of course, since I am using a crit strategy, I'm using Ana Rose, Bright Ana Rose, and Massacre Kurenai, the star of the show, because it makes you really strong. It's just amazing because it gives you both, well, three things. It gives you damage, it gives you damage reduction, and it gives you also regen, and the active gives you more damage. So yeah, it is busted. So let's do a quick run so that you see how strong is this girl. So the first thing that we do is that we reduce our HP, and then, what was the command? Oh yeah, during normal attacks, hold attack. As you see, I just deleted everything. The damage increase is just disgustingly good. And as you can see, I'm almost not receiving any damage at all. Where are you? I just need to do a couple hits, and then I'm just going to wait, and that. There we go. Okay, it did that. Okay. Done. As you can see, pretty simple. Even though it looks like I'm in danger, I'm actually not. This is the sweet spot for the HP. And as you can see, I received just so little damage that it's very easy to kill with the regen. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. I just need to do this. Perfect. As you can see, pretty simple, pretty easy. Yeah, it deals a tremendous amount of damage. You become super tanky. Well, honestly, Azusa can do blue, but it is not as strong in blue because she's not protect, and there's very good supporters for blue on protect. And she doesn't buff herself, she debuffs, so she cannot use Canna on blue. So she does have a certain amount of limitations specifically for blue. It might be a little bit difficult to do a build at first, but there are options, as you can see. Good options, right? Now, let's go with green. Yeah, green. Green is funny. So, for green, we're going to be using Vikala. Of course, we're using Vikala because it's the main damaging skill. Then we're using Gale Slash and also Double Team. Why are we doing this? Because these give you a lot of damage. As simple as that. But I don't have healing. What are you going to do? No. You're killing everything. That's what you're doing. Yes, you're right. It is a little bit risky. And if you feel uncomfortable, be sure to use invincibility supporters or supporters with healing like Yuno or Akane. Misaki. Well, we're using Nano to increase critical damage of melee attacks. We're using Kawaru to increase critical damage. And we're using Francis. Francis is good to have, but not required. It is just something that we can abuse because we're going to receive a couple hits. So we can reduce the cooldown of our skills with that. And we also get a speed increase, which is pretty good. And the damage increase to melee attacks. But let's say you do not have this. You can use Torajiro. You can use Bareta. You can use Mitsuki. By the way, you're able to use the Mitsuki Bareta combo with this character. It's pretty good. So yeah, equip whatever you have on the main that you want to use. And remember, if you feel uncomfortable about the lack of HP recovery, add a supporter that gives you HP recovery. So let's do a run pretty quickly. The damage is gonna be pretty nice. If I'm not mistaken, let's see if I don't die. Like last time I didn't. Look at that. There we go. We deal damage and damage and damage and damage. So as you can see, I'm able to survive because I add the clone. So the enemies don't go after me. And I just deal too much damage. And look, I get locked in place, which is kind of advantageous when they're pulling me. Anyways, let's see. Do this and this and this and this. And you see how funny it is, the way the skill works, the pure green skill. Come on, like that. And I do this. Yeah, it's not the most damage, I'll admit that much. But thanks to the clone, I don't have to worry about it. Oops, 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 oops. Ah! There. Nice. Pretty good. I'll just evade. Come on, there. And then I'll use this, and I reposition myself, and I use this, destroying all the enemies. Yeah, I won't say that this is the best for crowd control, but it's doing a fine job for the most part. Yeah, it is weird because it doesn't deal the most damage, but it's not bad either. So, yeah, maybe you do not want to use green like this. There's another option that we're gonna analyze. Okay? But before we check that option, we're gonna go over here and we're gonna do this one. This is a mixed build. So mixed builds are really, really unfortunate for Azusa. Why? Because as I mentioned, the basic enhancer is not the best thing in the world, since the animation is actually kind of slower, so the speed increase doesn't really matter. And because of this skill, even with the right colors, because green, as I said, it doesn't really matter. Even if you go red and blue, the benefit that you get from this skill is nothing. You can get that speed reduction with this attack, which is way better, and you don't have to you are not forced to finish a combo in order to use this the other skills. So, well, we're using Gale along with Shadow Spirit and Double Team. So, pretty simple. The disadvantage of this one is that you're not dealing the most damage. But you're not dying either, because we have Lilim, we have Nagi, and we have Kurenai. So, it is balanced. Very balanced. You're not gonna die. You're gonna deal damage, but the damage is not explosives, and your skills are not the ones that deal explosive damage also. So yeah, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel that they don't do anything to you, but you don't do anything either. But you're actually progressing, as you can see. Let's see. So we just evade to have our clone and dash attack, and there we go. Let's see again, like that, my clone, and done. Oh no, no, no. Well, I think it's time to use the active. May I? Come on. Like that, perfect. Yeah, the active is super important so that you increase your damage even further. Because as I mentioned, we don't have that much damage. We do have defense, but we gain that in exchange for our damage. I'm gonna use the ultimate because I don't want to deal with the wave of enemies. Come on, no, no, no. Okay, like that, perfect. Let's see. we just ulti. I'll keep the animation. And there we go. Nice. I do this and I use the active and I also use my skills. And I just have to be a little bit careful, just a little bit, not even that much. Because as I mentioned, this supporter, the current supporter is already pretty strong. And paired with the other two who also give damage reduction, makes this an excellent tank. Come on, attack, attack, there. Just one more and done. Yeah, pretty simple as you can see. So we're missing one more build and we're gonna check it on VR, but unfortunately I have to reduce the step because I'm going to auto. So what is this build? Let's go to 41. 41, yeah. So this build is gonna be the Taunter build. So what's up with that? I'm gonna use Micah to deal damage. She's gonna go with these supporters and these skills. I'm not gonna analyze them. This one is going to be these skills, these supporters, and Azusa. What is Azusa offering? She is the Taunter, the tank and Taunter. This role is enabled only on green. You cannot do this role on any other color. So, for this, it is nice if you have it, but you can substitute this. Onisaki Kirara, limited, pretty good for defensive builds, especially those with HP recovery. So, we have her, we have Hisui, and we have Francis. Francis for the cooldown reduction on hit, since we're tanky, and also for the other things that she offers, but mainly because of the cooldown thing. If you want to change this one for something else, there's not that much options. Like you can use, for example, Punisher Yukikaze against humans specifically. You can also use Misaki. Misaki is also a pretty good option. So yeah, you can use whatever you want. And what are we doing? We're using these skills. We're using the mirror image in order to get the HP recovery that we already know about. We're using Shadow Spirit to get defense increase and Bodyguard to get defense increase. So yeah, she becomes a really decent tank. It is not necessary for the most part, unless you're using two ranged attackers. Like I could tank with Hisui, but it is a role that you might be interested in, and I wanted to show you that. So, just look at Azusa. She's not going to receive damage at all. I mean, she is, but she heals it, and she's extremely tanky. She has defensive damage, just so that you know. Yeah, that's why she receives so little damage. Not only is the supporters, but also the defensive Magatamas. Perfect defensive Magatamas. And I don't have to do anything at all, because she's tanking everything. So, yeah, it is a thing that you can do. It is nice that she has multiple roles, but honestly, damage dealers want to debuff the enemy, and she is not good at it. She does have a couple debuffs, as you have seen. On blue, she reduces speed, but as a damage dealer, she prefers to reduce the enemy's defense. But, well, it is not necessary. You can use someone else to do that. Or you can use the Momochi weapon, as we have mentioned previously, because she is a good user for the Momochi weapon. And there we go. Nice, nice, nice. Pretty simple. Let's see very quickly those Magatamas, so that you see that I'm saying the truth. not this one. So those anti-machine defensive Magatemes and whatever Magatemes. That's why she's so tanky. Not only the supporters, but also the Magatemes. And not to mention that I have all the awakening seals. All of them max out. So, very quickly, let's finish this checking the weapons that she can equip. Over here and here. And let's go with Rinko. Yeah. So, Inabikari increases speed by 2% for 5 seconds during normal attacks. I mean, can be used, but it doesn't offer that much for SR stats. So I do not recommend this one. Leyline is actually good. It has anti-trade for Demon, so pretty useful on Demon BR. Be sure to use it. Sakura weapon, I mean, you can grab it if you're a whale, but in most cases we are not. Kirin only works with Rinko, so it's a bit thick for Azusa. The butterfly weapon, one of the best weapons that you can equip to Azusa. Definitely one of the best. But probably you don't have this. Maybe you have it at 2 out of 5. And that's being generous. Most people won't have this or have this at a higher S level because there were better options in the past. But now that Azusa shares weapons with Rinko, we might want to get this the next time we receive butterfly weapons. Then, this is for... Wait a moment. It also works with Azusa? Well, okay. Even so, it's a terrible weapon that comes from the pack, so don't get it. The PvP weapons. The terrible demon weapon, unfortunately, it doesn't work. Mackerel, not Mackerel. Wouldn't recommend to use this one in particular. So Mackerel is an excellent weapon for particle charge and ulti spam. But Azusa, as you saw, doesn't have the best multi-hit. She does have multi-hit, but it is not fast. And that's why this weapon and the ulti spam strategy is not effective on her. So do not try it. I do not recommend it. If you want that, go with Rinko. Then the snake weapon, exactly the same, but even with worse stats. So don't. This one, the one that gives super armor, well, damage against super armor enemies, not the best. This one is only for Rinko. The Momochi weapon, as I mentioned, one of her best weapons. If you have this weapon, be sure to equip it to Azusa. It's really, really proficient for her. And this one is also only for Rinko. The pack weapon. The pack weapon is nice-ish. It has 2 issues. Number 1, it doesn't have an active, which means that you have to ult. And that's pretty bad. The other bad thing is the stats and the fact that you do not get more copies of this weapon. So, yeah, it's... I mean, if you have it, nice, but I wouldn't use this. It takes a lot of investment for it to be useful, and you have to ult. And, well, not good. Lastly, we have the character release weapon, Mystic Sword Nanashi. Nanashi is a really good weapon that suffers from lack of modes. So, what do I mean by that? The passive says, upon dodging, increases allied characters' critical damage by 22% for 7 seconds. Activate every 10 seconds. So that's amazing. And the active reduces the critical resistance of the enemy. That's synergistic. What's the issue? Both critical rate and critical damage is penalized on BR to the point where it's not worth it to use critical rate or critical damage strategies on BR. So it doesn't offer much because there's not that many modes or content where we can build a team and crit and are not penalized by critting. So yeah, we really need a mode that doesn't penalize crit. let's see, a challenging mode. So let's just finish by doing some thoughts, some a quick review about Azusa. Azusa is a really good character with some important flaws. Mainly the fact that her passive, her leader skill, gives you critical rate, which is very good for normal content, but pretty bad for BR. It doesn't provide that much. Fortunately, she has just enough damage to be viable on BR, despite the critical. And she's a character that is going to give you a lot of value at the very beginning of the game because you have that 20% critical rate increase always active, and if you have the mochi weapon, you're going to exploit that pretty easily. So should you get Azusa? Not particularly. She is a strong character. Yeah, sure. But she doesn't offer anything unique. She's just another damage dealer. And we know that the best damage dealer are things like Astaroth, or if you want utility, you can go with Oboro. But in terms of damage, while she's strong, she's not the strongest. And the fact that her leader skill doesn't help out on the most challenging content that we have right now, it's a big demerit. Well, when we compare it to other characters like Phantasma, who have an excellent leader skill that gives you a ton of utility. So yeah, she's not a priority. If you want to grab her, sure, grab her. Especially if you have some weapons for her. Her healing is not the best, so you will need supporters. Keep that in mind. You can make the healing work, of course, especially on blue with this skill. But I wouldn't over rely on it. I wouldn't over rely on the skills. You really want to use the supporters. Things like Massacre Kunai, things like Susune. So, yeah. Well, that's about it, guys. I hope you find this useful. Let me know in the comments what you think about Azusa. Honestly, I was surprised at how easy she is to use. Like, she is not that impressive, but even so, she's strong. She deals good damage for sure. So, let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye!